trading is so easy to get tangled up. I believe it's just try to surround yourself. I mentioned culture is bigger than tactics. If you can find inspirational places like your stuff, Andrew, or just anywhere on there, surround yourself, like overwhelm yourself. Give yourself an unreasonable amount of success stories. Just success stories, success. Just keep hitting yourself with that. I do it in my newsletter as much as you can, and not fake stuff, but stuff that's true, that's actually happened from honest people who are trying to give back. It's hard to be sad when you're happy, and it's hard to be sad when you're inspired. Yep. And if you just keep pounding yourself, get off the news and find some trading inspirational stories, I'm telling you, it makes a difference. So.
Scott Welsh, it's great to have you back on the show.
Hey, Andrew, I'm in my coaching outfit tonight for our big talk, right? I feel like we're going to do more coaching than we are trading. So I dressed for the occasion and I'm ready to go.
Excellent. I can't wait to speak with you about your 3 defining moments in your trading career. But before we get into that, I just want to remind people that you have been on the show before. And according to my notes here, I hope they're accurate. You've been on twice. The first time we talked about breaking the rules for higher returns. You're such a rule breaker. That was episode number 186. And then after that, we also did a indicators versus price action, which is king, which quite controversial. But very entertaining. So if anyone wants to see those, head on over to the bettersystemtrader.com website and just look up in the search bar, look for Scott, and you'll find those episodes there. But today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So in those past episodes, I guess you shared a lot of the tactical aspects of trading and your approach. And this time it's going to be a little bit different because we're going to look at 3, defining moments in your trading career and, what we can learn for those. And hopefully everyone can get some kind of insights from what you're going to share today. So I'm really looking forward to this. So you ready to get started?
Oh, so ready.
Okay, so anyone who's watched the previous episodes of the show or has followed Scott for a while knows that he used to be a tennis pro back way in the day, and he's even dressed up in his tennis outfit for us today. So thank you very much for that, Scott. So our defining moment kind of starts from your tennis career. I won't share what the defining moment is, but maybe do you want to start there and lead us into what it is?
I can give you a background leading up to the defining moment for sure, because it was a big moment. And I think pretty similar for maybe a lot of people. But as we were talking before we started recording, tennis was my whole life. I started late, but I just got totally immersed in tennis. I played 7 days a week. I never left the club. It's all I wanted to do. It's all I thought about. I mean, I did get pretty good grades in school. But I remember I was looking at ranking lists and stuff during the middle of class, like. Tennis was everything to me. And there's just nothing else I wanted to do, but I got hurt as a 15-year-old. And I was really rough because as a 15-year-old, you don't know anything about anything. And you lost that was my identity, as an insecure teenager, like so many teenagers. And I just never really got better. I had opportunities to play at a big school for tennis on a full scholarship and couldn't take it because I couldn't walk. I went to a small school with my best friend and managed to play tennis there as much as I could. I couldn't play all the matches, but ended up doing okay there. And then all of a sudden now it's like, it's over. Like, what am I going to do? I mean, I thought I was going to go to law school, but I was just lost. I remember I was getting ready to graduate. I'm just walking across campus. I just felt lost. Yes, I got good grades and yes, I won some tennis matches and whatever, but some championships, but like, what am I going to do? And then I accidentally got a tennis job, as we were talking earlier. High school girls tennis job, brand new program, started it, complete beginners. 10 girls tried out. I said, how many girls have ever played before? Only 2 raised their hand. Like, it's all beginners. Like, this should have been a nightmare, and it wasn't for me. Like, it was just like lightning bolt. It was the most exciting moment. So it was a defining moment for me. Pre-trading was getting into tennis, and then I just never stopped. I mean, then that became 7 days a week. I found a club to work at, and I never left that club. Never took days off, didn't want a day off. And, became director of a junior program, and they started to grow, and my students started to win titles, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was just an awesome time in my life. As I told you, I found my significant other, Jill, there, and taught her son, like, everything came from tennis. And then, things had gotten kind of good, right? I had a little bit of a name, a little bit of reputation. I had students had done things. I had a couple dollars in my pocket. I never had any money, really. We're just very modest middle class family or whatever. And so now I have some money. Like, what am I going to do? Like, what do I do now? Like, am I going to be 99 years old teaching lessons, 80 years old? Like, it just kind of hit me. I was in my 30s and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to leave, but what am I going to do? Which led me to really a mini defining moment. I said, I got to do something with my money. So one of my students' dads was in the financial advisory business, with mutual funds and so forth. And so he said, sit down with me. And I thought that was great. And we sat down together and he was going over stuff. And, I think I'm a smart guy. I got good grades. And I've said it before, but to friends and stuff, but I've never just felt so lost. Like he's talking to me about mutual funds and returns. And I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about. And I signed up anyway, because the money's got to do something, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I got my first statement. No idea how much what it said. It's 3 pages long. And it's like, I can't do this. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what my money is doing. And it was that moment that looking at that statement is like the confusion again. And I said, I have to do this. Like I have to take control of my life. And that's a really big moment. In coaching, it's the same thing for tennis players. Like I own my game. Like I own my destiny. I own my matches. And for me, that was just a huge moment. So that it was really that moment that changed my life forever. And trading from that moment on has become a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger part of my life. And now that's eclipsed tennis. It's totally reversed, where tennis and trading was over here. Now trading is everything and tennis is a little bit over there.
Yeah. I think, you were in tennis and that's obviously a very physical kind of job or role. But I think a lot of people, even if they're like in a corporate environment or working office environment, they do kind of fall into a job accidentally. I know I did. I went into computer engineering just because I was like, well, there's nothing else. I might as well just do this. And then a lot of people get to a moment where like, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. So, which is what you're talking about here. So, what kind of things were going through your head at that moment? Like you've said, I've got to take control of my life, which is a really positive thing. But I'm sure you also had some kind of fears, like, are you doing the right thing? Or, so what else was going through your mind at that time when you were considering a transition to something new?
Well, Andrew, embarrassingly, I didn't have any fears.
You didn't?
I was such a cocky little blank.
How old are we talking, Scott? Like mid-20s or early 30s?
In my 30s somewhere.
Okay.
I just thought I was the cat's meow at that point. And, you learn that you're not. But I just thought, of course I can figure this out. I did it in tennis. I can do it again. I just thought I was going to do everything wonderfully. And I started with Warren Buffett books, just book after book after book. I was a good student. I wasn't cocky without work. I worked hard at it. Like I was on the court or I was studying trading, and that was my life with a little, sometimes Jill and I would eat dinner, whatever. So no, I didn't doubt that I would do okay. I learned another defining moment. We have some confidence shaken for sure. Yeah. But no, I thought I could do it. And it honestly went okay for a while. For a few years, it went okay.
Right. Okay. So was there a moment when you're looking at all these mutual funds and you're reading these Warren Buffett books? What was it that actually made you go, I'm going to be a trader. I'm going to trade Forex or whatever instrument you started on. This is what I'm going to do. How did you know that specific thing was it?
Well, I loved Buffett more than anything. And I love the fact that he bought Coca-Cola and now it's up, 14,000%. And I love the fact that he bought Geico and it went up 1,000,000%. I just loved all that. I love the fact that Berkshire Hathaway went up, blah, blah, blah. And I loved how he picked stocks. And I didn't want to do index funds and mutual funds. That was gone. Like I was going to pick it. And I went through, the Buffett way, and I went through Mary Buffett's book where how you discount cash flows or whatever. I was all fundamentals then. And I would value the stocks. And then Andrew, I got the top secret, and we can share this with people. But I mean, it was unbelievable tip. I learned about the MACD. Have you ever heard of that, Andrew? It's pretty advanced. I'm sure you've never even heard of it.
I've heard of it. Yeah, MACD.
I read a book by Phil Town called the number one rule, or I'm not sure what it was. Yeah. And honestly, it was a great book. I read it. I reread it again. Anyway, check it out, people, especially if you're starting. But it's a little campy. It's just a little campy. But the idea was you do fundamental analysis and you put that MACD on it. And when the MACD shoots up, when the histogram goes up, you buy it. And, it worked. I'll be honest with you. I averaged 30% per year and had one stock double in 3 years, which helped my average of 30% per year. And I took, I had like $8,000 lying around. I mean, tennis pros don't make a lot of money, especially, in Ohio. But I was saving my money, and 8 turned into 21,000. And I just thought, this is how you do it. I have my super indicator, and I have my fundamental analysis. I mean, I know everything. Especially when I think I even got so full of myself when my stock doubled. I picked a stock, CRDN. I'll never forget, Ceradyne. It makes body armor for military, and I doubled it. It went from 24 to 44, whatever it was. It was over 100%, 24 to 49 or whatever it was. And I just thought, this is great. I mean, funny though, if you look back, this was 2004, Andrew, that all this good stuff was happening to me. And what had just happened from 2000 to 2003? The worst bear market in our lifetimes. So I don't know how good I was, because I was riding a bull market that was about 2004 to 2008, and we know what happened then. So really, it was luck and my magic MACD. But I thought, I mean, if 8 turns into 21, why can't 21 turn into $1 million, right?
Yeah, exactly. The magic MACD, I love that. So how much of it do you think was the MACD versus the fundamentals? I think, as you kind of mentioned, at that time, you probably could have picked anything and it would have gone up. So
I think it was the fundamentals, to be honest with you. I think I picked stocks that were at a really good time to buy. I think the stocks had good earnings. And honestly, I think I picked at a perfect macro environment. 2004 in the US was a great time to be trading stocks. So I think the rising tide lifted all boats. I think that was it. I think it was just easy to pick winners at that time. I mean, I loved the little book that Beats the Market by Joel Greenblatt. That's really, truly a great book, especially if you're a value investor. And he has a free website, the Magic Formula Investing. I think it's magicformulainvesting.com, where you get a free scan. And so I was just using that. I was buying good value stocks, stuff with good earnings that were cheap on a MACD with a macro that's probably going up. I mean, it was a good time to be doing what I was doing. Like, some of what I was doing made sense. I mean, I wouldn't do it now necessarily, but it was, I think, a combination of all of those, really.
Yeah, right. So how long then was this transition from when you started doing all this trading / investing stuff to when it was your main source of revenue, like the tennis had dropped off enough that trading had taken over? How long are we talking here in amount of time?
A while. I didn't, tennis meant a lot to me then. It still means a lot to me, even though I'm barely dipping my toe in it anymore. But I had students that are still in my life, over 20 years now, and they're very, very important to my life. So it was hard. I was in no rush to just leave and not teach any more lessons. So we're probably talking another decade or so. But every year it's like less time on the court, less time on the court, less time on the court. And as I saved up money, trading, whatever. But that I have an opinion on retirement, and I have an opinion on trading full time, and we can get to that if it fits into our others. But I was in no hurry at that time. And it wasn't for the income; it was more for the love. But now all of my income is trading related activities, whether it's my trading or just stuff that I do involved with trading. So it's probably up almost all of it now, but back then it took a while. It probably over a decade.
And so how do you think that impacted you, being able to have this other, this tennis source of income? And it sounds like you weren't really in a rush to kind of switch over to trading. So What type of impact did that have on your actual trading?
I think it's a lot of people, right? I love the story of Burn the Ships, right? It's, a guy invaded and they get on land and they're undermanned, and the leader says, burn all the ships. But how do we get away? Well, we can't go away. So it forces you to fight. I get it. I do. And I am 100% believer in commitment. I am. Loyalty, commitment, do one thing. I believe in all of that. I'm not sure I believe in burning the ships with trading. I'm getting older now and wiser, I hope. I'm not. I think I would recommend not going full-time trading and not burning the ships for as long as possible. There is, Seth Godin is a big marketing guy, very famous. And he says, it's very hard to turn your hobby into a job. And, trading, when you have a little income, even if it's a little bit coming from somewhere else, trading is fun and you're clear-headed and it's easier and you don't death grip it on every single trade. There is something to be said for having the most boring job that pays the bills and then having trading make your fortune. As Jim Rohn once said, right? Jim Rohn, who Tony Robbins taught Tony Robbins, right? Yeah. But Jim Rohn says, have your income to provide your bread, but then have your thing to make your fortune. And trading can be that if there's not that much pressure. So I'm just a big believer. I don't know if I could. If I wanted, I don't think I would. As I say it out loud as we talk, I don't think I would want to go full-time trading if I could get just even the smallest bit of income. I would want to keep the pressure off. Yeah,
right. So what would you say then to all those burnt out tennis coaches with a bung leg or anyone else who's like, I'm done with whatever this thing is that I'm doing and I want to go to trading? What would be your one key piece of advice to those people?
I would say, and it's not unique, and I think about this a lot, but I would say we'd sit down and we'd have a talk. Why you burned out, whatever. And I would say, keep that now, and let's get started with trading. How much money do you have? Okay. Do you want to trade algos? Do you want to do discretionary? Okay. Let's then keep that job and let's crank this up. Let's use a trade size that's aggressive, right? Yes, you may suffer some drawdown, but guess what? You have a job. You can take this drawdown. And let's try to double this account or do very well on it. And then as soon as that account gets up to your salary is a great place to start, but you could say maybe even more than your salary. But until this starts providing on a reasonable basis, I think I would keep it. And I would tell you as hard, as strident as I can, keep that until your trading can fill up the rest and then drop it. I remember your interview. I listened to your interview with Kevin Davey on the plane from Australia coming back here. By the way, that was a great one. But I remember him saying stuff like that. If you could, as soon as his he got a big payoff, when he left his job and he had enough money, and it's like, I can do this, right? He made 100% a couple of years in a row. It's like all of a sudden, like trading clearly showed him that he was ready. And that's the difference, I guess. Don't say, I want trading to do this and let's go to it. Let trading prove itself with hard work and diligence. Put your system together and look, it'll scream to you. It'll grab you by the shirt and say, I'm making enough money. I just really feel like that transition shouldn't be this. I'm scared. Should I do it, honey? Should I do it? It should be, of course I should do this.
Yeah.
Look how much money I'm making.
Yep, exactly. So well said there, Scott. That almost felt like it should be the end of the show. So I hope we didn't peak too soon. I think that was a good ending to defining moment number one, which was, I guess, the realization that your existing job wasn't enough and you needed to get into trading. So you shared some really valuable insights there. Don't burn the ships, I think, is probably the most important thing I got from what you said. So
it's not as fun, it's not as sexy to say that, but I'm believing it more with each passing day.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much, Scott. That was defining moment number one. Now, number 2, this has got me intrigued. When you when you sent this to me, I was like, I think the title was Mother's Day Massacre, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this? I've never heard of this before, but it is trading related. I think. I hope.
It's a murder spree. No, we don't know. That's what we call. Jill and I call it that. That is a real thing. It's right. It is really what we call it. She's funny and she's dramatic, and it was dramatic for us. So, and it was a turning point because trading was getting very, very that was a big moment. Like I almost burnt the ships as this Mother's Day Massacre happened. This was 2010, and this was almost it. And I'm glad this came because it's made everything steadier since. But you ready? Should I tell you what exactly?
Please tell us what it is.
Yeah. But I might accidentally teach a trading system too, so I hope that's okay on your show.
That's okay, sure. Yeah.
But I had been doing a lot. I studied. A friend of mine was a very, very good trader. He taught me a bunch of, when I transitioned over to Forex, which is another defining moment, but, not as important as the massacre. But we did a lot of work with moving averages, specifically, a longer term moving average, specifically the 800 period simple moving average. Why 800? Because it's the 200, which everybody knows, times 4. I love to take an indicator. He recommended it. I like it too. You take an indicator and just multiply it by a silly number, so you're looking at something new, right? It's like just a new perspective. But what happened with the 800 is that I really started to like it. It's long, it doesn't go like this, and it's like you can really trade back to it. And I'm like, huh. And guess what? There's such a thing in trade. I'm teaching so much today. Reversion to the mean, right? We learned about the MACD. Well, let me teach you something new about reversion to the mean. Oh, goodness. But guess what? If price gets far away from the 800, what does it normally do? Snaps back. Snaps back. And so I did ridiculous amount of research on this, all discretionary. I wasn't full-time algo then by any means. This was all hours. Jill and I both, hours, charts or whatever. And honestly, if you put a long-term Bollinger Band around that 800, standard deviation 2 or higher, sometimes even 3, and price got down to that lower Bollinger Band, guess what happened? Snapped back up. Now in Forex, back then even, it's been regulated in the US since then. The leverage was 100 to 1, 200. I mean, it was beautiful. Well, kind of. And so we were trading Forex, and we're trading about one lot each time. And what we do, we set up these scans. We had done all the testing. I had tested currency pairs by hand for over a decade. And what we do is we buy it on the lower Bollinger Band, and we trade it back to the 800, right? Mm-hmm. And we wouldn't trade it all the way back. We would trade it just a little chunk. What's the likelihood, Andrew, if you're way down here and the price is up here, that I can get a chunk?
It's probably pretty high. Yeah.
So high, right? Oh, it's even higher than that because I didn't use a stop loss.
Oh, uh-oh.
Anyway, so we
I wish I had sound effect.
And we went down to 15-minute chart, 5-minute chart, 1-minute chart, and everything worked. Everything. And we started doing tick charts, 25 tick chart, 50 tick chart, and it worked. And our routine for months, 3 months, I never forget it. Our routine was Jill and I would get up 5, 6 a.m. Eastern. We'd go to our Forex charts, check about 20 pairs, check what was down at the Bollinger Band or up, but mostly down. I don't know why we only went long. That's a good question. That's another topic. But we went short too. But we buy it at the lower band, and that's it. No stop loss. And we'd buy it in the morning. Bye, dear. Bye, honey. And I'd go off to work, and I was still teaching tennis. I hadn't burned the ships yet. And so I'd go and I'd teach my lessons. I was still teaching a lot then. And I'd go at 9 a.m. We were already in the trade. She would text me, or at about noon, we made $1,000. And this happened every day. We made $1,200. We made $800. Oh, bad day. We made $700, over and over and over again. We won, I think it was 52, but it was over 50 straight trades. Made 50% in our account in 3 months. Just bam, bam, bam. That's the end of the story, Andrew. I have nothing. No, that's not. I
We're
don't
all
want to
waiting to hear
tell
what
the rest
happened
of
from
the
that.
story. But I was done, Andrew. I mean, it was
Where's
it.
the
Like,
massacre part?
I mean, I was making $1,000 a day. How could I not burn the ships at this point, right? Well, Eurodollar, our old friend, the Eurodollar, in May 2010, we bought it on a Tuesday. It was down at the band, and we bought just like we had been doing for months, and it didn't snap back. Like I was on the court, it's like noon. I checked my phone, no text. We always have a text. It always wins.
Where's my $1,000?
Where's my $1,000? So I checked it at 3:00. No text. Now it's finally done at 4. I'm like, nothing. So I called her. Yeah, it's going against us a little bit or whatever. Well, here's the problem with not having stop losses. When do you get back in? We didn't have a plan for getting back in. You just get in. Oh, that looks like it might snap. And so we put another one on. We came home like, oh, it'll snap back. Put another one on. Didn't come back. Didn't come back that night. Woke up the next morning. Didn't come back. And now all of a sudden, I'll never forget this feeling. It was a 5-6 day feeling, but the dread, like in the pit of your stomach, like it's coming. The blackness is coming because we didn't know when we're going to get back in, and we had gotten in too many times with full lots too early. Can't get back in too early, but it always snaps back. And it dragged, and then the drawdown started getting 1,000, 5,000, 8,000. It's like, oh, I don't want to get back in now. And it's like, our magical 800 pip simple moving average, it always hits the 800, right? It's 100% certain that price will hit the 800. The problem is when the 800 gets below your entry, right? Oh, it's going to hit down here. Oh, that's a nice loss of, 5-6 grand. Well, it had done that. And now we're past our initial entry and we're still down here now, right? Down here. And like, it's tracing us, like the drawdown is going. And, we're putting alarms on it at night and going to bed. The computer's in the other room. We're going to bed and we're just listening, like half asleep, half awake, half alive, half dead. Is that the alarm? Like, did it hit? Are we out? Because now we're praying for break even. Like, break even is the best. And we'll take a little less than break even. Like, we're doing any sort of negotiation with the trading gods that we can find. And this last days, we get up, and I've never felt like this in my life. We were zombies. Like, we just looked at each other. Like, I don't know what to say to you. She didn't know what to say to me. We'd pass each other in the hallways. Like, we're still on this draw. And like, it was awful. We didn't sleep. I couldn't concentrate on the court. It was just, and then Friday hit with no real help. And the last half hour, it comes up a little bit. We're down over $12,000, and the account was only 60, 70,000. So it's a big drawdown for us, especially after you win every day for 3 straight months.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm going to message boards. I'm calling trader friends, anyone who can give me a pat on the back and say, it's going to be okay. And nothing to do. And so anyway, I was teaching that Sunday. Forex opens at 5 p.m. Eastern. And I had a 4 o'clock lesson, my last lesson of the day. And I'm just a zombie still, 5-day zombie. And I remember I'm picking up balls in the back of the court. And someone from the front desk comes out and says, Scott, you have a phone call. It's Jill. And I'm like, my knees wobbled. Like I've never had, I thought I was going to faint. And so I picked up balls. I'm sweating. And I walked out and she goes, it gapped up. We won. And I was like, I almost just fainted. Like it had made a huge gap up. We ended up making $10,000 on the trade. But I've never been the same. I've never traded that way. I've never felt the same. Like trading changed for me at that moment, that phone call. I knew we were lucky. I didn't take that 10,000 and say I was great. I took that 10,000 and says, this is awful. And I was wrong. And the trade size was wrong. And the system was wrong. And honestly, we took maybe 1 or 2 more trades and we were done trading. I stopped trading for a couple of years. It was so jarring. So wow. that was a rough one.
Wow, that's incredible. So does that mean you shouldn't trade with your wife? Is that the lesson here, or are we blaming her because she's not here, or what's the?
Yeah, she was the problem. Yeah, she isn't here. Yeah, she's definitely the problem. No, she's a fantastic trader. She was just doing. She was doing the research. I was doing the research. She was doing the trading, and I was doing the tennis teaching, and it was just perfect. She didn't do anything wrong. It was all me. I just. We had not planned out how to get out of trouble. If you don't have a stop loss, you have to have a plan, Andrew. We had no real plan. And it was just, I mean, to know you were that close to losing it all and a gap the other way, or at least losing most of it. Most traders say I lost it all and they came back. We didn't lose it all. We had a big win, but it felt like losing it all. It was mortifying.
So I assume when you did all this testing, you didn't test with a stop loss, and you also didn't test, adding to losing positions. Is that right? Just making it up as you go.
Yeah, it was like 8 positions we added. So like we were we were so loaded. So no, we had not tested this many rebuys in. This many added positions. We were adding the same size too. Like there was just no plan. Like there was just zero plan. It always snapped back. That was our plan. So it was very lucky. There are ways to trade this way. It's not like it's a bogus way to trade, but trade size matters, and you have to have. You have to plan this out and plan A, B, C, D, E. You can do it, but it's scary. But you can't do it the way we did. It's garbage.
Yeah. So you're doing what eight full lots of euro yen on a 60K account.
Euro dollar, yeah.
Euro dollar. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. On my newsletter, if anyone reads my free newsletter or whatever, there is a picture of a trade on my newsletter, and it's that trade.
Is it?
When all the trades opened and it was a winner, that's why it's on my newsletter. It's this trade we're talking about that luckily gapped up. Like I'll never forget it. So
yeah. So then I guess this is kind of an obvious question, but how did that impact your trading going forward? What lessons did you learn from that?
Size. Size matters humongous. Like you cannot be reckless with size. Staying in the game is so much more important than your trading system. And guess what keeps you in the game? Trading size. So that's number one. And then number two, I got deeply into algos. Like that was 2010. I researched for a year and a half in discretionary trading. I couldn't make it work. I always found something that would make us go bust. So it's like a year and a half. I'm not trading anymore. Like, what if I had burnt the ships? Like, where's my income now? Right. That's just another reason. Like, you have no time to do research if the ships are gone. And then, 2012, I found algos, and the very first algos, and that was another humongous moment, to become an automated trader. And that solved that problem. Using software, using code totally changed everything that was wrong with the Mother's Day Massacre.
Yeah. Right. And what about going through that experience with a partner or a trading buddy? How was that? Do you think it was helpful or not?
It was great to go. It was great not to be alone, for 100% sure. And especially someone so special to me. Obviously that was great. I don't need, I'm I guess odd in some ways. I don't need a buddy. I was happy to have it with her, and I'll trade with her anytime. And she's still a part, I still talk to her about everything. But I don't need, after that, especially after that massacre, I'm going to be disciplined now. That's not in question anymore. And I'm never going to take undue risk. So I don't need an accountability person at all, but I think it's a great idea. And I've known some people do it. I just don't particularly need it. I have my robots and I have the research, and I know I'm not going to get crazy with it anymore.
Yeah. And do you ever use that 800 moving average?
Oh, it's back.
It's back, is it? So you weren't scarred too deeply then.
Yeah, no, as long as it's a robot. Yeah, I built a Forex robot with it, and I'm actually now using it again to pick value stocks, a different version of it. And I'm testing portfolios. These are for long-term holds, like dividend stocks, but also stocks that you could put stops on. I've got one of my latest ones I started tracking last month. It's up like 15%. So, this stuff works. It snaps back. It's up 15% in a month or so, but it snaps back quick. But you have to use size, and you have to have a reason, and you have to know how to get out of trouble. The 800, especially I'm shocked how well it works with individual stocks and indices. But it's absolutely a wonderful, moving averages are great. And I love the 800. I'll love it forever. But not the way I did it.
Well, thanks for sharing that story, Scott. I could see a little bit of the pain in your eyes as you were explaining that, but we've all just lived the experience through you. And so thank you very much for sharing. That was great. Thank you for sharing that story. Sorry to laugh at your expense. I hope you're okay with that too.
Yeah, it wasn't my pleasure, but I'm happy to share it.
All right, so that was defining moment number 2, the Mother's Day Massacre. So dramatic. Now, defining moment number 3, maybe not as dramatic, but just as valuable perhaps, is trading contests. Now, you were runner-up in the World Cup Trading Championships of a couple of years back. I'm sorry, I forget the year.
2020.
2020. Yeah. Okay. So, so obviously you did well trading that year, but what did you learn from that defining moment, trading contests?
I love trading contests. I love people who enter them. I just love them, and I've researched them for a number of years, and I still love them. I'm not doing any currently. I don't know if I'll do them again, but I love them. And the reason why, it's psychological. In tennis, I used to use a trick. If I had a student, back in the day who was super good, one of the best in the state, in the country, in the nation, whatever, I would bring them in and they would just hit in this group, with a bunch of pretty much beginners, and when you're a beginner, like your tunnel vision is this small. It's like, maybe I'll make my team, or maybe I can beat my dad. And you just haven't had your mind stretched at all. And you bring in a superstar and all of a sudden you hit with them. It's like, whoa, they did this and they turned pro and they beat this person. And I'm with her, A equals B equals C. Maybe I'm worth something. And all of a sudden your mind changes. Like, wait, I can do it. Most people don't think they can do it. They might act brave, but most people are scared to death. We're humans, right? We're scared of things. So that for me is a trick, and it always works. Bringing in a superstar, it only works 100% of the time. Is what I tell them. I mean, it works every time. To me, trading contests are exactly the same. Like, okay, I think I can make this, or, I read on some message board that I can make this. Well, go look at a trading contest, and not a fake one, a real one, like the World Cup or the US Stock Investing Championships. It's another big one over here. Yep. And look at those numbers. Like, look at Mark Minervini, real money, right? He took $1 million and made 300% a few years ago, right? I mean, if you think, I'm making the stock market makes 8 or 10%, whatever. I mean, open your mind. Like, there are people out there, making 200%, especially in 2020. Kevin Davey even said, and Tim Ray, who I presented with, he even said, if you're going to be in a contest, you have to try to make 100%.
Yeah.
That right there was huge for me, because they're right. And when I started doing my research, I'm like, yep, you kind of have to make 100%. And all of a sudden it inverts it. And instead of thinking, well, I got to take this MACD or this moving average, all of a sudden you're thinking, how do I make 100%? And it's a wonderful thought experiment. And if you don't use money that you really, really need, like if you have money that you can afford to lose, as we always say in the risk, then it's worth it trying to go for it. Even if I don't believe anybody who even finished first is still going for 100% a year. I think they tone it down a ton, especially when their accounts get big. But just thinking that, how can I take what I'm doing right now and how can I 10x it, or how can I get to 100% a year? I think it's invaluable, and it totally changed my life and how I think of things. And absolutely, in one of my algo accounts, that is the goal. Like, it is a trading contest. I have trading contest level goals in that account, even though I also have sectioned out and have other accounts that I'm never going to risk that much, whatever. But I mean, it's totally changed my life. Instead of thinking, well, 30% per year is pretty good. Well, wait a second. Minervini just made what? 200, 300%. So totally, even do it for fake. You could even paper trade. Say, okay, I'm going to go for 100%. And I'm just going to take the trades and see. I think it's so worthwhile for anyone to try it, whether it's with real money or not. I truly believe it's a life changer, 100%.
I can already hear people, Scott. They're all going, yeah, right, Scott, but that's a trading competition. That's not real life. You're being reckless. Are you crazy? What do you say to those?
Well, I think the people who have won would say, no, it's not crazy, right? Again, you have personal finance. I love it more how Morgan Housel said, personal finance is mostly personal. And if you scoff at 100% per year, then just don't do it. It's not for you. But don't tell me it's wrong, right? It's the same thing. And I've gotten upset with you before about index funds.
Well, let's not go there.
But when an index fund person says you can only make 8% and that's it, and 100% in a trading contest is reckless, no, it is not. Right? None of these people that have been on your podcast or whatever that you've interviewed, they weren't reckless. They had plans for this. Kevin Davey and others, they planned all this out. I planned it out. I knew exactly what it was capable of. And if I got the right market, I was going to get it. Right? What's so reckless about that? I knew what the drawdown was. I knew what my trade size was. I knew it was capable. If I got lucky and it was a good environment, right? If you get unlucky, maybe you make 10%. Okay, whatever. But it could have made. I think it's not reckless not to trade like I did in 2010 is reckless. But I'm saying if you have a plan or an algo that you have the research, you can say, here's the research. Do not listen to people with small dreams. All right. You need to have very, very big dreams, and getting 100% is not reckless. I ended up with 74% that year, and I was happy with that. I was at near 100 for a second and then dropped it. I didn't care if I made 100, but I was ready to go for it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if every single trade you're scared, then don't do it. I mean, you got to be so excited to do it for a year, and then you'll know. Same thing as about burning the ships. If it's so obvious, like, I want to try this, then you should. Right? It's not for everybody, but don't say it's wrong though.
Yeah. So did you have that perspective or that belief before you actually achieved it, or did you achieve it and then you fully believed it?
I always believe it first.
Always believe it first.
Yeah, the belief. I thought I was a great tennis coach without any clients. And I told my first college team that we're going to win a championship in 3 years. I had never coached a college team before, and I was 23 years old, and we won a championship in 3 years, just like I said. But the belief comes first. Now, it has to be reasonable, right? Belief without research is delusion, right? So, but if you have a reason to believe, and basically that's just study. Like, if you're testing your algo and you've tested it responsibly and you think what it's capable of, you haven't done it yet. So clearly the belief is happening first. If I'm going to build a hotel, I don't build the hotel and then believe I have the hotel, right? You have the picture of the hotel first. So belief always comes first. And you need to get yourself in a culture where you're allowed to believe and people won't cut you down. People won't say that's stupid. Get yourself, culture matters more than tactics. So all that, get yourself in a position where people do believe. I don't mean pie in the sky stuff. Do the darn work. But belief always comes first.
Yeah. So you think then it's important to be able to see what the opportunities are that other people are achieving, because you often see these things on the internet about don't compare yourself to others and run your own race and blah, blah, blah. But it sounds like there's a completely different side of it as well, of expanding your mind to see what's possible. Is that what you're talking about here?
What's that say? I'm sorry, Andrew.
Is that what you're talking about here? You've got to see what other people are doing to know really what's possible.
A big life changer for me, being a competitive person, especially in the tennis business. Tennis is pretty cutthroat. I love tennis more than anything, but I mean, it's pretty nasty. And there's a lot of, I hate this person and I can't stand they lose and I can't believe this person won and blah, blah, blah. Right. But my life changed dramatically. And this isn't pie in the sky. And I don't believe in toxic positivity. Right? I mean, it's not like everything's fine. It's not fine. Bad things happen. But I totally believe that, you have to, say it again, Andrew. I got, what was the question again?
I don't know. Oh yeah, I've got it. It's important to look and see what other people are doing to expand your mind. Right. Yeah.
I thought so, but I was going to go a different direction. I wanted to make sure. Right.
Take it where you like, Scott. Take it where you like.
Yeah. I expanded my mind and I almost went another direction. So I get so excited to talk to you. But the biggest change for me is when you have this competitive and oh, I hate that they won that. When you're happy for other people's success, that is a big deal. Truly. Someone comes to me, I coached this girl and she did great. I'm excited for that. That is a huge difference. I don't envy people. I'm not jealous of people. I look at movie stars, or I look at, we had a baseball player here in America to sign a $700 million contract.
Wow.
I don't sit around and say, why the baseball players don't deserve. That is awesome. I'm so happy for that person. When you are that way, what are they doing? Wow, they did something great. I think I can do that, but you don't hate that person. If every time you look at something and immediately you feel terrible, then you're absolutely right. You don't compare, you don't whatever.
Mm.
But if you can look at anyone you want and say, I'm happy for them, I'm happy for them, and I need to do better, it's perfectly healthy. Like, it is so much better to not hate and not be jealous. It's so much better just to drop it. And in that regard, I guess I am looking at myself, but I love looking at trading contest standings still. I love looking at seeing what they're doing. Oh, I didn't make that this year. I think that's great. And if you do that, honestly, that's how you expand your mind and without getting that negativity.
Yeah, that's a good way that you've kind of defined those two sides of the same coin, I guess. So, do you only look at trading competitions for inspiration, or where else can people look to kind of get an idea of, expanding their mind to what's possible?
Yeah, I was gonna say YouTube, but YouTube can take you in a bad direction. I still love the YouTube videos in 2020 that's like saying this works forever, and then all of a sudden they're gone in 2021 or 2022 or whatever. But I mean, there's a lot of people trying to do responsible things, like people like you out there. They're doing great stuff. So definitely YouTube. But honestly, I love to go through the futures. They have rankings of like the top funds. I love to seek those out. I love to find like famous funds that you've heard of and go, well, how much are they making? You know, like the famous there are a lot of still famous turtle traders still trading in mutual funds. I go find them. I read Business Insider. We have that, and I try to find this trading. You know, even stuff like the Tim Sykes. You know, the day trading, shorting stuff. I go find what did he make this year? Yeah, I look for anyone who's doing, for every article that I can find online where somebody's doing well, I read it. Now, if it's garbage, then I dismiss it because, you know, it's woo-hoo. But I mean, if it's real trading systems with real people with real ideas, I just seek out, you know, the top funds. I like to look at individual stocks. That makes me happy. I go top performing stocks of this year and try to figure out how that stock did it. That's inspirational. Anyone who's performing, or any stock performing, or any sector that's performing, I think there's inspiration there. So yeah, I love to go seek out those people, or search or circ.
Well, that's a good way to finish this defining moment on a inspirational tone like that. So that was defining moment number 3: trading competitions and expanding your mind to see what's possible out there. So thank you very much for sharing those 3 defining moments with us, Scott. Now, if people want to hear more from you, get inspiration from you, or learn more about the Mother's Day Massacre, where can they go? I've got to go and see this chart that you talked about in your newsletter now.
Yeah,
You've got me intrigued.
on the newsletter.
Have a look.
Every week I send it out, and never forget. ScottWelshStrategies.com. And I honestly, I do a ton of stuff for free. I try to be that inspiration. You know, it's not even a plug really, but I track a bunch of free stuff on the performance page, like tracking real portfolios that I've researched that I give away. I'm not charging for, but I like to put, like, if something does really well, I want my website to be a place where people can do what we just talked about. So ScottWelshStrategies.com, you can hit the contact page and say, I want to be on the free newsletter. I am going to have to double the price on the free newsletter. It's going from free to twice free. So
twice as free.
Twice as free.
With a double money back guarantee. If you don't like
money back guarantee. I do have a money back guarantee. And honestly, Andrew, can I say that? You didn't know I was going to say this. I loved the Breakouts Revolution book.
Did you?
Absolutely. It was one of my favorite books I've read. Honestly, seriously, I'm not just kissing your butt.
I didn't write it, so
it is a good book. You and Thomas talk about it all the time.
We talk about it.
It was great. I would recommend that too. I love that. Very positive.
Thank you very much, Scott. And yes, I recommend people go and check out Scott's newsletter. He's been doing some really good emails lately about Bollinger Bands on, I think, Aussie dollar and the euro. So I watch Scott and check out his newsletters from time to time. Very informative. So ScottWelshStrategies.com. All right. Well, and anyone who enjoyed what we've shared today, or what Scott has shared with us today, please give us a thumbs up on the video and hit subscribe and bell button so that you're notified anytime we release new content. And now, Scott, finally, the final moment. Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you'd like to share?
No, I'm always very excited. I feel like very excited to talk to you, especially because of all the good work you do.
Thank you.
Trading is so easy to get tangled up. I believe it's just try to surround yourself. I mentioned culture is bigger than tactics. If you can find inspirational places like your stuff, Andrew, or just anywhere on it, surround yourself, like overwhelm yourself. Give yourself an unreasonable amount of success stories. Just success stories, success. Just keep hitting yourself with that. I do it in my newsletter as much as you can, and not fake stuff, but stuff that's true, that's actually happened from honest people who are trying to give back. It's hard to be sad when you're happy, and it's hard to be sad when you're inspired. And if you just keep pounding yourself, get off the news and find some trading inspirational stories. I'm telling you, it makes a difference. So please do that.
Excellent. Well, what a great way to finish the show. Thank you very much, Scott, for your inspirational words and sharing your 3 defining moments. And I'll catch you again sometime soon.